first, how about just tell me a little bit about yourselves and tell me where you're teaching, what you're doing, and how long you've been doing it.
Crystal, you want to go or do you want me to go? Ladies first.
Ladies first. There you go.
Well, we teach in Van Buren, and I am the middle school director at Northridge Middle School. I teach grades 6 through 8, but I also teach reed instruments all the way through 12th grade. So I go to the freshman academy every day. I go to the high school every day, and I teach beginners at Butterfield too. So I get, so if you're a clarinet player in Van Buren, you get me from 6 through 12, like it or not.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm Brad Reeves. I am one of the band directors at Van Buren High School. I'm the low brass specialist for the Van Buren School District. 6 through 12, if you play tuba, euphonium, or trombone, I'm teaching you. And excited to be on this podcast with you today.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. So before we dive into the actual pandemic stuff, tell me what your students have been up to. What have you guys done over the past couple of years? I know personally some of your guys' triumphs, but I'm curious, people would probably want to know.
Well, our marching band wise, our students won the 2017 and 2018 Arkansas State Marching Championship for Class 7A, which is the largest classification in the state of Arkansas. In 2019, last fall, we came in second place. We came in as a runner-up. This past February at the Arkansas All-State Convention, our high school band, our wind ensemble, served as the 7A All-State Honor Band and performed a concert for all the music educators and all-state musicians in the state of Arkansas. One of our freshman academy bands has done that recently as well. I believe it was 2017 that they did it. Mm-hmm. And Crystal's band, and I believe also in 2017, was the ARC MEA honor band and performed at the ARC MEA conference in Hot Springs.
You guys are busy.
You know, it is, yeah, I guess that's a way to put it. It is busy. It comes with its own set of stress. Something that we've really tried to push is, you know, if you ask the average person that knows anything about band in the state of Arkansas, their first thing, when you mention Van Buren, is typically, and I've heard this more times than I can count, is they only care about marching band. And, you know, while we do care an awful lot about marching band, because like it or not, it's our most visible activity in the band world. It's what pays our bills in the band world. We're more than just that. And so, you know, we put a high amount of emphasis on the individual musician through all region, all state, as well as concert season. And so we as well as jazz, you know, we want to be completely as well-rounded as we possibly can, because we feel like each thing feeds into the next thing. It's very cyclical. You know, if we have a good marching band, then our concert band is going to be good. And if we have a good jazz band, then our concert band is going to be good. And if our concert band is good, as our marching band is good. It's cyclical, and it feeds one thing after the next. That's excellent.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Crystal, before
I? No, that's really the bulk of it. We a lot of times, again, if you talk to people, they, you know, everyone's always kind of looking for the magic pill, you know, with band. Like, what is the next new thing that is important? And a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, you got to have a bunch of adjunct staff, you know, and some of us, you know, need to have that anyway, just to supplement what we have. But we teach a lot. We teach all of our students ourselves, aside from double reeds. And there are benefits and drawbacks. A drawback would be obviously us for time-wise. You know, it's kind of hard to get to everybody. But a benefit would be that those kids are most accountable to us. So if I say, you are not practicing enough, you need to spend more time on this, it's a little bit more meaningful to them than if somebody else does. You know, they know that if I'm saying something to them like that, that I really mean it, and it's been pretty fruitful because of that.
Absolutely. And I've had the pleasure of watching some of your rehearsals, both concert and marching, and I really enjoy this style. Can you talk a little bit about your rehearsal technique? You can pick either concert or marching, and then maybe just talk a little bit about your team, because I know you guys team teach a lot there at Van Buren.
I think our teaching style, our rehearsal style, is probably pretty similar, marching and concert wise. At the end of the day, we want, these kids, they don't have money, right? Their only currency that they have is their time. And we ask a lot of their time, and we want to be fruitful with their time. We don't want to sit there and waste their time, because that's the only currency they have. So we really push, when we say we're going to start practicing at a certain time, that's when we're going to start. When we say we're going to end at a certain time, that's when we're going to end. And there's no wasted time in between. Yeah. If, marching wise, if we're working on something visual, let's say, side one, there's a group that's working something visual, and I'm over on side two working with those musicians, maybe hitting something, maybe hitting some drill, so that there's no standing around time. Maybe we're working on some band body while another section is working on a section. Maybe the front ensemble is going through and doing some reps while we're working with another section. Just our goal is to have as much face to horn time and as little downtime as possible, so that we are maximizing the amount of we're just maximizing the amount of work that we can get done.
Sure.
Something, and Crystal, you can chime in as well, something that is kind of a motto for the Van Buren band staff, is we're probably not the smartest band directors in the world. We know there are other band staffs that are a whole lot smarter than us, but what we lack in brains, we more than make up with hard, work ethic. And that's kind of something that we try to instill with our kids from day one, is we're just going to work hard. And, something we preach is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And so our goal is to just work hard and give them that that mindset of working hard and having a good work ethic that's going to follow them for the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think too, something that kind of is a precursor to that is, starting in beginning band and continuing on through 7th grade and 8th grade, we don't go into any rehearsal unprepared. That everything is lined out exactly what we're going to do. We have short-term goals, we have long-term goals. The students are aware of what those goals are. Brad literally writes weekly goals on the board for individual students even. And that continues through, when they start going to assessment in 8th grade, we record rehearsals, and then we make a plan based on that. And I know even all the way through high school, when they're doing marching rehearsals, Ron Smith has literally his hit list of 2 or 3 pages that he writes out of everything that they need to hit. We're going to do this, we're going to do it 5 times, and then we're going to go back, and that's something that's consistent through every level.
That's excellent. I know that adds a lot of prep time for you guys. And speaking of that in general, how has this sort of prep that you do here transitioned into the pandemic? So what was teaching like during the pandemic?
It was awful. It was awful. There's no music education, and I really think education, period, is not meant to be behind a computer screen.
Yes.
I know I've taken my master's degree was all online. I get that. But there is a certain me being able to, physically fix something on a student, or being in person to give them a high five, or, there is a certain, I don't know, intimacy. I don't know if that's the right term, but being, face to face with a kid and them knowing that you care, it's a whole lot different than going through a computer screen. Something that I've been really proud of our band staff throughout all of this, because we met several times virtually, and we kind of had a feeling that school was going to be shut down for the rest of the year. And so we started putting a plan in place probably before a lot of other band programs.
It was the weekend after the last, well, it was my child's birthday. It was March 13th. That was our last normal school day, and no one knew what was going on, but we had an idea that we would be closed soon, and we got together that weekend.
That's
and
way early.
Came up with a plan.
And we kind of came up with a plan. Initially, it was a plan through the AMI side of things, knowing that we're probably going to be out for at least 2 weeks, and then, or at least I think until spring break. And then we started thinking, okay, this is probably going to happen for the rest of the school year. How do we navigate this? And so 6 through 12, we have nearly 900 students in our band program. And at the time, there were only 7 band directors. Since then, we've added an 8th band director. But there was only 7 band directors on staff. And so what we kind of came up with is the best way to handle this is to break it up in instrument groups. So for instance, Crystal did all of the clarinets and saxophones and double reeds 6 through 11, because unfortunately and fortunately at the same time, our district and the State Department had decided that seniors, they were done. And so that took, 60 kids off our plate, which was actually pretty beneficial. But Crystal had 6 through 11 double reeds, single reeds. Julie Konzelman took 6 through 11 flutes. Brent Evans took trumpets. Ron Lewis took horns. Ron Smith took some horns. Dustin did all the percussion stuff, and I did all the low brass stuff. So we kind of put it in instrument-specific groups. And, all the concert music that we were working on, all that stuff kind of just went out the window. We felt the easiest way to circle the wagons, so to speak, was to go ahead and make a push to next year's all region and all state music. Because we already have a curriculum that we have set up that we use during the fall to handle all of our all region and all state music. So we just bumped that up and we did it online. And so we were meeting twice a week through Google Meet, and kids would submit pass-offs. We used a whole lot of Google Classroom. And so we were able to get through, I would say throughout this, what do you think, Crystal, half of our all region and all state music?
Yeah. And it's obviously on a really introductory basis. We picked, depending on the students, it kind of varied in terms of what we were able to get to, and, depending on how kids, were completing stuff. But I was going to show you, and this is, is it okay if I share my screen? I can kind of show you what we've been doing. I think you might have to enable it.
Oh, great. Just have to enable it.
That's fine.
Try now.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Good deal. Okay. So, let's see, I'm going to start with this. This is kind of the checklist that we had.
Wow.
And you can kind of see the varying levels of participation. And I think that's pretty, what we have found out is that our level of participation was actually slightly higher than even the core class.
Great. That's a
so
rarity.
We're happy with that. It's obviously not 100%, and you're just not going to get 100%. And I think
just because you've got kids that they don't have the technology at home, you've got kids, when mom and dad, when they came home, mom and dad said, you don't have to worry about school for the rest of the year. And so that made things significantly harder in that aspect. We pride ourselves in taking away excuses. So there were some kids that said, well, I don't have technology at home, or I don't have my tuba at home. And so we would go to school, we'd get a Chromebook, we'd pick up their tuba, we'd deliver it so that there would be no excuses. We delivered marching drums to percussionists. We delivered marimbas and vibes because we do not want there to be an excuse that we can,
of course,
that we can kind of help with.
That's
and so like you can kind of see as far as the assignments we did. For me, this is for 7th and 8th grade clarinet. So this is junior high clarinet material. One week we would do a scale, and then the next week we would do an exercise using that same scale, and you see like 4 measures. Okay, so the next week a different scale, the next week 4 measures. The assignments were very small, very attainable, and so that's an important thing. And you can kind of see here, this was our weekly schedule. So we tried to keep beginners at the same hour of the day, just so it's for ease of communication. What we did find, though, is the further along we got, kids were getting up later and later. So some of these earlier times had fewer and fewer participants. And also just something to note, our students, we used Google Meets, and we can explain why we chose that later. But as we went along, the first couple of times we met, they all kept their cameras on, but by the end, none of them had their cameras on. And that's not something I necessarily want to pressure them to do, but we certainly missed aspect there. So we met initially, each group met twice a week. And then Monday and Thursday had the same schedule. Tuesday and Friday had the same schedule. And then Wednesday we kept open, which was important because we needed that catch-up time. I think we did eventually, a few weeks in, end up meeting just once a week, just to kind of help with all that. And I also, I did keep track. One thing I will show you before I put up my contact log. Let me do that real fast. Okay, so we, sorry. Hide that. So,
I'll edit it out.
You can edit that, yeah. But anyway, the contact info was really, really, really important, at least for me, because I had almost, I think it was like 225 for the number of students I was trying to keep up with. And so I put a checkbox if they called in at least one voicemail and if they participated in a meet. And so then at the end, once I got, and this took me a while to get into this, because we're building things on the fly. And so then I was able to calculate the percentage of check boxes, and I found the formula that you can count the number of check boxes. And so I knew, literally what their percentage of participation was. And as you can see, this is a 6th grade class. There were only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 60 that didn't turn in anything. So I thought that was pretty good.
That is great
in terms of
what
we were able to do.
The system that you're using is incredible. Like, I love the detail, and it really, probably for you guys, since you said 250 students you're keeping track of.
Yeah, and that's just reed instruments, 6 through 12.
So that's probably great to help with that. I'm curious, what were the assignments? What sort of technology were you using to obtain the information? Was it in groups? Did you have them all play together on Zoom, or you said Google Meets? What did you do?
We utilize Google Meet. We would get the kids together in the Meet, and we would warm up together. They would be on mute. We would not be.
Okay.
So we would just have to trust that they were playing.
Yeah.
And throughout the warm-up process, we would be like, okay, Jackson, unmute it. Let's hear you play this.
Okay.
And then, Jason, let me unmute it. Let me hear you play this, so that we could give them some feedback. And so at that point, we would then introduce the material. And then something that we've already had built in our program for probably about, I don't know, what do you think, 10 years, Crystal?
It's been a long time.
Is Google Voicemail. And so we have a curriculum that we follow with beginners that, pass offs. Everybody does pass offs, but we only have a 37-minute beginning band period. And so we can't sit there and listen to a kid every day in person play a pass off. So what the kids do is this Google Voicemail, they dial it, it goes straight to voicemail, they leave their name, they play what they're going to play, and then we assess it at a later date. Kids that couldn't make it to the meets, we would record the meets, upload it to Google Classroom, so that they had the opportunity to go back and learn some of the material that we had already covered in the meet. The thing that was the most important to us, and we kind of learned this through some AMI work that our oldest daughter was doing is some of the work was really, really beneficial. And then some of it felt like busy work.
Okay.
And so, and you know, the AMI day, and I get it being busy work, because the AMI day stuff that we were using initially was not created for a pandemic. It was created for that occasional snow day. So that at the end of the year, we didn't have to make up the days. And so what we had learned is the material needed to be meaningful, and the kids had to have constant feedback. The constant feedback is what keeps them going. If they know that you're not going to listen to the assignment or grade the assignment, then they're not going to do the assignment. And so it was really important for us to give them bite-sized chunks and then constantly give them feedback.
Yeah. So how was that? I mean, you said 900 students. I know you have a team and obviously you're organized. How did that affect you, like as a teacher, having to do that so meticulously every day? How did it affect you?
We were working 12-hour days to teach the material, grade material, create new material. And then at the same time, we've got a preschooler and a fourth grader that we're trying to also teach. And then at the same time, we've got recruiting that we've got to do. And, you know, it killed our soul. You know, it was, and there were depression there. I mean, there were times that we were depressed. We were very manic. Our highs were very high. The lows felt very low to us.
Gotcha.
And, you know, it made me never, you know, and as teachers, you've always, at some point in your career, you've always got that one class that you're like, man, I just don't want to teach that class today. You know, maybe they got some difficult kids in it, or they're just not getting it. Throughout all this, I will never complain about having to teach a class ever again, because I just missed it so much, you know? So something that we came up with to, I guess, get to see our kids is we came up with something, and this was Ron Smith. He came up with this. We called it P4. And it stood for Pointer Pride, which is what we call our marching band, Pointer Pride Pizza Patrol. And so what we did is we did this probably 3 or 4 different times. Is, you know, we've got everybody in Remind, and we sent out a text saying, okay, the first 6 people who text us their address, we're going to show up to your house with a pizza. But the only thing is, you have to play for us when you get there and earn your pizza.
Oh, awesome.
And so we did that. We made videos and put it up on our social media page because, you know, it was kind of fun, and we wanted everyone else to get to see it. And we did that. You know, we did it with pizza. We did it with popcorn, some gourmet popcorn. We did it with Popeye's chicken sandwiches. That one was really fun. And, you know, we tried to ramp up our social media presence throughout all of this. Because we wanted people to know we are essential, and music education is essential. You know, because, you know, you would visit with people, they would say, oh, it must be nice starting summer early. And I'm like, no, I'm working way harder now than I did, you know, than we do in the regular school year, because we're having to create stuff on the fly. And so we wanted to have a heavy set social media presence. And so this was just one way that we had that social media presence.
Well, and I tell you, the people who were the most excited about that were the parents. Like, the kids were excited, but the parents were out there. They would hold the music for the kids. They would be out there with their phone. They were the first ones to say thank you, and they said it 10 times. They were probably the most excited, because they, you know, it's like they got to show off their kid a little bit, and that was definitely beneficial. You know,
we tell our kids all the time when we start recruiting them in 5th grade that this is a family. And, you know, this is the way that we continued showing them that we're a family. You know, something else that we did, and we kind of took a page out of can you guys hear me? Okay, sorry, my screen went black. So we kind of took a page out of, you know, the college football recruiting side of things. And Ron Smith and I would sit down with kids' contact information, and we would text 20 kids a day. And, you know, how are you doing? You need anything? You know, and you know, it was a way to keep up with them. It was a way to help with recruiting, obviously. But, you know, again, we tell them we're a family, and what better way to show that we're a family than by calling them and texting them and showing up to their house. And, you know, that aspect of things we really enjoyed. Just the teaching music education online was not fun.
No, yeah. But it sounds like oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. It's okay.
Well, no, I think what's cool is just from you guys talking, and I've watched the was it P4? I watched all that online. I thought that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Because you could see the kids getting excited, like the kids out in the driveway playing trombone and stuff, and I think that's so cool. So, continuing on with that, now that we might face this again, you know, maybe in round 2 or whatever they're going to call it, what do you think our role is as music educators? Like, what's our purpose? What's our role for these students?
Well, I think we've shown our value. At least here, I think we've shown. I think the general society at large has seen the value of music, because those are the things that people are turning to in times of isolation. You know, those are the videos they were watching. They're, you know, watching videos of concerts. You saw online concerts everywhere, and I think we've shown our value. In fact, like, our retention from grade to grade, we haven't gotten to do our 5th to 6th grade recruiting in its entirety, but grade to grade retention for us right now is as good as it has ever been. And we were really afraid about that because we didn't get a chance to really talk to them and pull kids in and, you know, talk them into staying. And I think it's because they see the value.
So for instance, going from 8th grade to 9th grade, you're going from 2 different schools to our freshman academy here. And every single 8th grader but 10 has signed up for freshman academy band for next year.
That's
now,
amazing.
Of those 10, I'd be willing to bet half of them have not turned in any schedule stuff yet. And so I think that number will actually end up becoming lower. And it's the best retention that we have ever had. Because I think these kids realize that we have put forth effort, and we have put forth, you know, it was when we did our last Google Meet, these kids were almost in tears because, you know, they would say, I look forward to this every week. I look forward to this. And, you know, giving them a place, you know, we would start the class just, you know, how are you doing a check-in? How are you? Do you need anything? And they really realized that we care, you know. Somebody told me one time that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's kind of, I mean, this was 100% true. You know, they don't care about your content. They don't care about your class unless they know that you care about them. And so we felt this was, it was a great way to show that, and it's helped with our retention. Going into what possibly will be in the fall, I really, really believe that we're going to be face-to-face in the fall. I really do. I think there will be some occasional times where we might have a week off or 2 weeks off here or there, to let people, you know, let them sanitize things, let them, you know, get well, you know, that kind of thing. But I think things are going to get back to normal. They have to get back to normal. Our economy can't continue to grow if parents are having to stay home to watch their kids. And so I think we'll see some blended learning stuff. You know, Van Buren is already unique. We already had a virtual charter school as part of our school district. And the cool thing about that is the kids that are part of that virtual school, we call it the River Valley Virtual Academy. The kids that are already a part of that get to still participate in athletics and band and stuff like that. And so, you know, our district has already got some things built in place that other school districts are kind of building on the fly. And we have a superintendent in Van Buren that is the best in the business. I firmly believe that, and has, throughout all of this, has kind of seen where some things could go, and has put things in place over the last few years so that we're not feeling the crunch district-wide as some other districts are, because we already had a virtual learning in place.
And I think going forward, we're going to have kids that we might not see in person for the next 2 years because, they're just a vulnerable population and they need to stay home. And so the virtual academy allows for that. I think that is a minority, though, for sure. I think most parents do want their kids back in school. I think they learned that they do not like to homeschool and they want them there. We don't know what our parameters will be. I think it's very easy to get sucked into the social media vacuum where, ooh, this is going to happen. Ooh, you better watch out. Did you hear what happened here? And it's just this fear and anger. And, people are very scared of what music education is going to look like. But we're kind of the mindset, tell me the rules and I'm going to follow them. We'll figure it out. We will make it happen no matter what. If we have to have smaller class sizes, fine, we'll figure out. If we have to wear a face shield while we teach, buy me 50, and we will, if we had to have band outside, we'll have band outside. All right. In winter, put on your coat. And, it's just, we'll play by the rules to keep students safe. But we're not coming at it from a posture of fear. We're coming at it from, all right, let's get after it. We'll figure it out.
I love that. And you might have already answered this. This is, I think, my final question, unless we just go off on a tangent. But what advice are you going to give people, or can you give people that are going back into the trenches, just like you are, whether they're university professors or first-year teachers? What are some things that you've learned that you want to say to them?
I will say, I think in the past couple of days, I did see a meme of one small person looking up into a giant wave, and next to the giant wave it said, the 2020-2021 school year, this big wave coming at you. And I think it does feel like that. There's a lot of uncertainties. It's really easy to be fearful, but it's kind of like if you come at it like your first year of teaching all over again, where there's so much you don't know and there's so much you're unsure of. You have to take it one day at a time. You can plan ahead, but you have to plan ahead just at least one day at a time. When you're learning a new instrument that you have to teach, you have to stay one day ahead of them. You just have to be a little ahead of them. And we can go in prepared with plan A, B, C, D. But things are changing very quickly. And if you come at it from a position of one day at a time, and we'll figure it out. It's a lot easier than, oh, what about this and this and this and this and this? Then it can be really overwhelming.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it's important that educators, and I'm not just saying music educators, I'm saying from the math teacher to the English teacher, just educators in general, you have got to show that you are essential. You have got to show that you are not using it as a vacation. There are lots of educators out there that use the last little bit as extended vacation. And that's not good for our career. That's not good for kids. And I think going forward, every one of your decisions have to be made at what is best for student learning. What can we do to mitigate learning and keeping them safe at the same time? And you have got to prove that you are essential, because when the time comes to cut positions or to cut programs or whatever, if you're showing that you're not essential, it's pretty easy to cut that. So, again, in a time where we're in a pandemic, our superintendent and our school board has seen the benefit and the need of music education to where we not only filled a position for a staff member that went to another school district, we added a band position. Yeah. And that's because he sees that we're essential and that we are necessary in a student's life. And this doesn't happen by accident. You have got to constantly be showing people why your program is important for kids in your community.
And something else that's going to be a really big challenge this fall, and again, this is something that's going to be a challenge for absolutely every educator, is meeting kids where they're at, because they're going to be at a lot of different places. They're going to be kids who played their instrument all summer. They're going to be kids we get who have not played their instrument for 6 months. And so we have to take them where they're at and go from there. And we'll have to kind of put aside all of our previous goals. You have your landmarks of where you want to be by such and such time. We're going to have to put that away and put that aside and, go back to your foundational concepts. Are we making a good sound? That's thing number one. And then now, once we've all established we're back to making good sounds, now let's start at the beginning and make sure that all those rhythmic things are in place and all those other foundations are there. And it's really going to have to be that way in every grade level.
This is exceptional, guys. Like I've learned a lot just from hearing you guys talk. And
hey, there's a question that I want to hit. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
You asked something about, should we avoid encouraging young people to pursue degrees in music? Can we talk about that for a second?
Please. Yeah, go.
Again, we got the greatest job in the world. Being a music educator, what other like job in education can I be with a student from 6th grade to 12th grade? The relationships that we build with those students and their families during that 7-year period is
lifelong.
It's lifelong. The weddings that we go to, the birth announcements that we get. I mean, it's incredible. And we need people to be able to continue that. But I want to go a step further and come at it from the master's degree side of things. And I know this is not your question, but this is something that, Crystal and I were talking about yesterday, and we feel pretty strongly about. I am all about being a lifelong learner. I've got my master's degree. Crystal's working on hers. She's a national board certified teacher.
Cool.
We want to constantly learn. But we feel like right now in some of the colleges and throughout the state that there is a push of, how do I put this, Crystal?
You can just say it.
It's in regards to people being with the career goal of being a college level band director, conductor, wind ensemble conductor, whichever, people pursuing degrees in that. It kind of used to be widely considered that you need to have, public school, private school level teaching, K-12 before you go into that. And we've seen recently that people are being pushed directly into that with no experience. And it makes us like short of breath, because that means the people who will be educating your music educators later will have no public school teaching experience at all. And that makes us like short of breath, like, oh my gosh, because who are we going to hire in, 5 to 10 years if the people coming out are only worried about conducting fundamentals and not necessarily how do you get a 12-year-old to make a good sound on every instrument? Are you able to do that? And if they've literally never done it, some of the most legendary band directors on the college level in our state started in places like, I don't know, Hazen, or, small schools and places where they made, band happen on a high level. And in small schools, and they way overachieved what people expected of those students. And so that's how they became professionals, is they literally worked their way up. But if we're sending students to their, terminal degrees before they have any experience at all, that's super, super scary. Now, obviously, it's different in regards to the performance side of things. That's its own trajectory.
Or people that want to pursue being a band director in college. But we had, through our 2 positions that we had open this year, we had about 115 applicants.
Oh.
And I would be willing to bet, well, I know for a fact about 15 of them sent us videos of their conducting, and I don't care about their conducting. That's the least of our worries. Can you hear a problem and diagnose a problem and fix a problem? That's what we care about more than anything, not how fancy you can be with your conducting. And I, and these are the same folks that you've then look up their ratings or their recordings of their bands, and they look really awesome on the podium conducting, but A, their band is not following any of that, and B, it's a 3rd division, and so there's a disconnect between the artistic side and the right notes, right rhythm side, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so, you've got kids that, well, I'm going to go off and get this master's in conducting right out of college, but then you're going to turn around and you have made yourself, in a lot of districts, unemployable because as a first-year teacher, you now cost too much, if that makes any sense.
No,
makes any sense at all. And so I don't think we should be encouraging people to pursue degrees in music, but I think we should be maybe encouraging them to have experience before going on to the next level of degree, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Real world experience. I've always said, even as a person who did go straight through degrees on the performance side, I always respect people that have 40 years of experience. That means way more than 3 pieces of paper. You know what I mean? Like, and not that I'm doubting where I came from and all of that. It's just
no.
When you see that, you're like, well, I am about to do what you've been doing for 40 years or like 5 years or whatever it is.
And and the performance aspect, I think it is totally different.
Sure.
And especially in a time in a pandemic, I think it's hard to encourage a student to be a performance major, because you got some people that want to teach at the college level, and then you just got some people that just want to play for a living.
Sure.
And right now that's kind of hard to encourage, but I feel like the performance aspect is totally different than the band director aspect of things, if that makes any sense at all.
Oh, sure.
That's just kind of been a hot topic during this time where we have hired 2 positions, and 1st and 2nd year teachers are sending us videos of their conducting, and I'm like, that's really awesome and you look really good, but can you hear the issues that are going on and how you can fix that? That's what I care more about anything.
No, yeah.
And maybe that's snobby of us to think that way.
No.
But, one thing we said in our interview process with these people is we're looking for band directors, not conductors.
Man, that's really interesting. I haven't actually talked to directors about that situation. We talk about that a lot. Actually, recently, some of my friends that are university professors talk about people really showing like, oh, look at this crazy 4-mallet solo I can play. But they're trying to be a university professor. And you're like, well, yes, that's great. You can play that. But sometimes the greatest players in the world can't dissect a situation.
That's right. Some of the best teachers are maybe not the best musician. The
They
people
struggle.
Exactly. And they understand the struggle, and they understand how to honor the struggle, and they understand how to break things down to bite-sized chunks so that the kid that doesn't get it right away will eventually get it, instead of, you get those folks that, well, I don't understand why you don't get that. Well, it's easy. I had math teachers. I struggled.
Yeah, probably some of the like the people that come at teaching the hardest, those people are probably the ones who are most naturally talented, because you bring it down. And that's something that I'm not necessarily naturally talented, but some things came easy to me. So it was hard to, when it comes easily to you, to break it down to a level for somebody that doesn't come easy to. I would usually pick up rhythms pretty quickly, and I was a good sight reader. So when it came time to teach those things, I'm like, all right, let's count it once. Why don't you get it? Why aren't you playing it right? Why are you making stuff up? Well, they don't understand it. And so it's something that's difficult.
No,
and that's the opposite for me. I was like not naturally talented at all in anything, any, oh man, not at all, my friend. Anything that I did, I had to just out practice the next guy. And so when it comes down to breaking stuff down for the humans, I feel like I can relate, because I am one of the humans and not somebody that it's always been easy to, you know, if that makes any sense.
It's perfect. I talk about this a lot with my friends, and it's interesting to hear the other side coming from band directors. I think that it's nice to know that the idea is the same. It's like you hope that that a young hotshot, no offense, like that's great, but that they might not be qualified mentally or physically to actually teach, like right now. Like, not saying they're not ready, but or they can't do it, but right now today they might not have the skill set to walk into a room and hear someone do a bad snare drum roll and be like, do it like this, you know, like that sort of thing. So it's nice to hear the other side. That's cool. And also I completely agree. Because I definitely struggled a lot, a whole lot. And I feel like luck had a lot to play in it, you know.
Sure.
But anyway, this is awesome. Is there anything else on the sheet that you wanted to talk about?
I think that's it, man.
That's cool. I totally just skipped over that one. I was like, well, we'll just move on.
No, it's okay.
No, that's great.
That's it's been hot on our mind, because we've just gotten finished hiring 2 new staff members, and so
that's exciting.
That's something that it comes up in our interview process, you know. And then also to that is, I would say something to the college band directors. You know, most school districts send out a reference form automatically when it's when somebody applies for a job. And there was only one band director. We had lots of private staff make phone calls and email us and stuff, but there was only actually 2 band directors, but they were from the same school, who filled out any reference forms, who made phone calls or text messages about their students applying for our jobs.
Wow.
With 115 people applying, there was only one school in the state that the directors took time to make a phone call.
The college directors.
The college director. Now, we had some UAFS people apply, and I know you filled out some stuff for us. Curious. But the band director side, there was only 2 band directors from the same school in the state.
Wow.
That, shoot us a text, or, they were advocating for their kids.
Sure.
And so that kind of, when we see that as, okay, if we're going to send some kids of our kids to go be music educators, we want to know that you're going to help them get a job and help prepare them to be the best educator possible. And when we see it from this end, that you're not even taking the time to contact us, good, bad, or indifferent, about an applicant and several applicants from your school, that kind of makes it hard for us to want to send kids to your program.
Yeah.
Well, because, I know for Brad and myself both, our college band director got us our first job. They were the ones that made the phone calls, because the people out there hiring don't know you from Adam, especially when you're a first-year teacher. And when they, a director who's hiring hears from another director who's established and who sees kids graduate every year and knows how to separate the kids who are going to be great teachers, they advocate for them. And that's how I wouldn't have gotten it otherwise.
Same this position.
Hal Cooper, for both of us, he called the principal at Mansfield High School, and my first teaching job, and said, "You need to hire this man."
That's awesome.
I know Hal Cooper called Ralph Brody at Clarksville and told him to hire Crystal.
That's so cool.
And that's how we got our first job. And so when we're looking at it as, you know, when we send our kids to you, we want you to take them to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to know that once they have gotten to that level, you're advocating for them still. And so, you know, I could go on and on and on and on.
Oh, sorry, I guess that's not COVID related, but
it's not COVID related. It's just
life.
And you could use it or not use it. This is just us talking. It's just, you know, when I feel like, and goes for college athletics, it's all about recruiting. And, you know, you got to build relationships, and you know this as a college guy, you got to build relationships with those kids to get them to come to your school. Mm-hmm. But you also got to build relationships with the coach or the band director, because when it comes down to a hard decision, they're going to lean on you to help get them in a direction where they're going to be successful, because you've got 7 years of trust already. Mm-hmm. And you know, when you see programs that are not advocating for their graduates, that's just one way or the other. I mean, you could just call us and say, hey man, I don't know about this kid or this kid right here. Or take the 30 seconds and fill out the reference form. Yeah. It goes a long way, not just in the hiring process, but when it comes time for us to help get kids to your university as well.
No, I think that's something I needed to hear, and that's something I think everyone needs to hear, especially at the upper level, like the university level, because that's our job. Like, yes, we need to teach you how to play a great snare drum roll and a 4-mallet piece, but at the end of the day, you're right. Like, they pick the school because you're a family, and you should be advocating for your family. You know,
and you guys know them better than we do, and so. You know, when that professor or that band director doesn't fill out a form, it almost puts a red flag out for us.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
You know, if you're not going to call us or contact us in any way about that applicant, that almost tells me, well, maybe we don't need to look at this person. So it almost works as a disadvantage to your student. Wow.
Yeah. This is great. Well, thank you. This is good. I didn't expect this part of it at all. So is there anything else that you guys wanted to add?
Man, we appreciate what you're doing at UFIS, and we appreciate what you do for our kids. And we're glad you're here in Western Arkansas, because you are one of the best in the business, and you're approachable. And I know you've got the kids' best interest at heart, and you know, we're just a fan of Tommy Dobbs.
Oh man, that's so nice. Thank you. I'm tearing up over here. You can't see it. Well, thank you so much. I love working with you guys and coming to your programs. It kind of helps me get a little bit more excited sometimes when, you know, things are always the same, and I come out and I visit a school and I'm like, oh yeah, that's how, you know, like that's how it goes. So thank you guys so much for this. I am so excited for people to hear this, because I really think it's necessary, and your ideas are very creative and forward thinking. And the most important, they're student centered. And I think that is something that might be not out of a teacher's mind all the time, but it's good to come back and refocus. So thank you very much.
You bet.
Well, you guys have a great day, and thank you for being on. This is awesome.
Hey, thanks, Tommy.
Yeah, thanks guys. I'll see you later.
All right, bye.